absolutely amazed at the amount of work you ladies have done this last 12 months. And I'm sure it's gone on before that. Because I've been to, this is my first year as an advisor. And I think you're the 6th annual meeting I've been to. And believe me, the other 5, and I'm not telling you who they are, but not, if I added it all together, they've not done as much as you've done. You are absolutely incredible.
Our members.
Yeah, all of you, yeah, absolutely. You should be so proud of yourselves, and the way that you've dealt with this. It's not like where I go, where we just go to the local chapel and use the room there. You've got all this responsibility, and it's completely different than anything that I've seen with any of the others. So congratulations and well done, all of you. You should be really proud of yourselves and what you've done here. And the stuff outside is just tremendous. And can I please come back in the spring and have another look? So, to get on to me, now, as I say, it's my first year as an advisor. So, when I took on the role of advisor, I don't really know Anne Perkins, who was the chair of membership last year. Anne said she's my mentor, and she said you need 3 talks. So I thought, oh crikey, what am I going to talk about? So I've got a couple that I've done, and I've got one in the making, but I'm going to start off with this one, which is basically, obviously I'm not local, I'm not Welsh. I can claim a 16th. I had a Welsh great-grandmother, and that's about as near as I can get, unfortunately. But we always came to Wales as children, and all through my life we've come to Wales. So I've eventually ended up here, living here. But we'll get to that in a minute. It was difficult to decide where to start with this. In 2011, when I actually joined, I feel that's not really the starting point. Where I started was way before that in a different way. So a bit of background. I'm a townie. I came from Stockport. And to say WI, where I lived in Stockport as a child, people would have looked at me as if you were bonkers. And I had to phone a friend of mine and say, "Is your mum in the WI?" She said, "No, I don't think so." And the best we could come up with was Towns Women's Guild, National Housewives Register, and Mothers Union. But no WI, because we weren't in a rural area, we were in a town. Neither of them, our mums, were involved in anything really like that, apart from a very brief flirtation that my mum had with Towns Women's Guild. But of course, there was that other organisation, one that I'm sure most of you will have experienced at some point. This is where I have my bit of this is mine. Out of the bottom of my sewing box, I have this. Why have I kept this all these years? And I bet a lot of you have got one or had one.
It's the girl.
It's the sleeve of my guide blouse. With a couple more. There was another sleeve as well with a lot more on, but this was the one that somehow got saved. So lovely. I go back to that because I feel that that's where it all started. Why is it important? Well, there are so many parallels, aren't there? It's an obvious progression, and I bet you've got a lot of people around who've also been guides at some point or another. But for me, it wasn't just a start-off, it went on, as you'll see. Friendship, equality, support, education and learning, citizenship, civic responsibility, volunteering, they're both all part of the same thing, aren't they? WI, guides, all the same. Guides became integral to my life at the age of 7. My dad's cousin was the district commissioner, so Judith got in early. progressed to guides. In 1962 we moved house and I dropped out for about 6 months. Somebody who worked for my mum and dad said, oh, my daughter goes to guides, Judith can go with her, so off I went to guides. And that went on. And I've skipped, but you've seen that. So what were all those badges? Well, childcare, cook, first aid, homemaker, hostess, laundress, map reader, needlewoman, reader, pathfinder, thrift, swimmer. There were others too, but a lot of those gave me skills which I still use today. Not least the pathfinder coming here tonight.
Oh,
Though I did rely on the sat-nav. But they've all been useful. I was a very shy child, and guiding forced me not to be quite so shy. It got me involved in things that even today I use and can benefit from. It helped me get jobs over the years, and after initially working as a lab technician, I went to work for my dad. I had a bit of an industrial accident which didn't do any, it wasn't that bad, but I went to work for my dad, who was a travel agent. And I would go to work and I'd have photocopying for guides to do because I was then a guider. And so I did my photocopying at work. And then I became a district commissioner and then a division commissioner. And then I was the PR advisor for the county of Stockport. And of course I had more photocopying to do and there was occasional displays to put up in the town hall. Dad never complained. He would just say, oh, not more photocopying, is it? And I'd say, well, yeah, but you got me in, didn't we, Dad? And he never, ever complained. So, as I say, I got to be the PR rep, and that involved me going to London to conferences. And I don't know if any of you have been to Guide headquarters in London, but if you go onto the top floor, it's in Buckingham Palace Road, you can see over the wall. And so, yeah. But conferences there, and things like learning how to do public speaking and that kind of thing, all really useful. My children and my husband all thought they were guides. They came to all sorts of things. Memorably, as I've just mentioned before, vacuuming the stone walls of a building we were converting, not unlike this, but it didn't have any plaster on the inside. We were converting it for use of ranger guides and putting bunks in and kitchens and all sorts of things. We had to vacuum the walls and they were full of spiders. And I can remember my daughter standing there with her arms out. She was about 4 and she said, look, Mum, and there were spiders all the way down. She'd been collecting them as we were going around. So they all got involved. My husband answered the phone regularly saying, Judith Watson's secretary. So everybody was involved, just like your husbands are all involved as well. In 1988, everything changed. My husband got a promotion and we went to live in the East Midlands. I left my lovely job with Dad, and my last job in guiding in Stockport was as I ran the newspaper for an international guide camp at Tatton Park. There were 2,000 people there, and we ran the newspaper out of a porter cabin with 2 photocopiers and a very old computer, and it all ran off a petrol generator that we had to run outside and refill every 2 hours. So that was an interesting experience. But when I came to Leicestershire, which is where we went, I went from running the travel agency basically to teaching in travel and tourism. So I had to do all my teaching qualifications and a lot of other things. So there was no time for guiding. So I stayed out of guiding when we were in Leicestershire. But eventually in 2002, I got a job in Pembrokeshire at Haverfordwest College. And I moved, and eventually Mike moved down with me, to Newport. And we lived in Newport. And I worked at the college there as a programme area manager and then as a head of school until we retired in 2010. Both retired together in 2010. And at that time, there was a food fair at the Aberystwyth Arts Centre, and we went along, and I'd been looking for a trefoil guild to join, but there was a WI stall there. And nobody gets past a WI stall, do they, without, are you interested? And I sort of stood back and I looked, and Mike said, oh, go on, you might as well, just try it out and see. I'm sure he just wanted to get me out of the house for a night. So I did, and it was just like going home. It was just like settling back into that same environment that I'd been so used to with guides. Glenarglin were just up the road. I was made very welcome, and I found myself involved in all sorts of things since I joined. I was quickly co-opted onto the committee, and in 2015 was president, and that was really lucky because it was Glenarglin's turn to go to the annual meeting. And so I went to the annual meeting at the Royal Albert Hall that the Queen attended and Princess Anne, and we went to the garden party in Buckingham Palace afterwards, which was wonderful. Do you know Dinah Gibbons? I'm sure some of you will know Dinah. Dinah said, you have to wear a hat. And I said, oh, I don't wear hats. And she said, oh, you have to have a hat. You can't not have a hat. You have to have a hat. So I ended up with a fascinator, which I don't do hats generally, but I had this thing on my head. And of course, when we got to the garden party, it was very, very windy that day. Ladies didn't know whether to hold their skirts or hold their hats, and the hats were flying all over the place. But it was an experience that you just can't repeat. It was just unbelievable, really. So then the next thing was creative skills. You're all very creative from what I can see here, and I like creative skills, it's great. So I ended up joining the Creative Skills Committee. It wasn't long before I was sort of co-opted onto the Board of Trustees as well. So I joined the Board of Trustees, and then since then I've become involved with the membership and become an advisor this year, and I'm now Vice President of the Federation. So it's been that's how I've got into it. But I'm convinced that the grounding I gained in guiding has helped me throughout my whole life. I regularly return to all those skills that I learned all that time ago, the cooking, the needlewoman, the homemaker, all the skills in creative crafts. Map reader, well, I'll be using it again on the way home. There's lots of things that are all the same. All they start the same purpose: education, sustainable development, health, citizenship, run through both organisations like Letters Through Blackpool Rock. It's given me friendship, support, purpose and continued growth. And of course, continue to use all those skills that I learned so long ago. So how many of you have trodden a similar path? I'm sure you have. Lots of you will have been in guides or something like that before, I'm sure. So joining the WI felt like coming home, and I'm staying.